All right, so let's say you just landed your first opportunity to get on a film set and you're pretty intimidated and nervous about doing that. Well, those feelings are perfectly natural. I remember the first time I got hired on and it was like a big set. I was super intimidated and nervous about being around these experienced directors and DPs and gaffers and all that kind of stuff. And I felt kind of overwhelmed. Well, the good news is typically if you are hired on set for the first time, you are, working as a PA or maybe doing BTS or something like that. So first of all, breathe, relax. You're not making any production critical decisions. You're there to either assist, or as BTS, you're totally hands off and you're just snapping away. So the good news is there's not a ton of pressure on you, but there are a few things that I think you should know going into the first day on set that'll really help you, number one, be successful on set, and number two, have better chances of getting hired back on. So I want to talk about a few things, some technical skills and some soft skills that I think are really important to know going into your first time on set. And the first thing I'll talk about is when to actually show up. Now, what I like to recommend is showing up 15 to 20 minutes before your call time. Now, that might seem like a lot of time to sit around and wait, but 15 to 20 minutes in the grand scheme of things is not a long time to wait, and there's two really major benefits I see about showing up early. Number one, if you intend to show up 15 to 20 minutes early and you get caught in traffic or anything like that, you've already bought yourself 15 to 20 minutes to get through that traffic and hopefully still get there on time. Or if you show up 15 to 20 minutes early and you're there before everybody else, that's gonna set a really good first impression for all the crew members and everybody that you don't know and the production company that hired you, because they see that you're there early, you're ready to work, and you've really taken the job and the schedule seriously. All right, next up is a little more technical, and we'll talk about just some CStand basics. CStands are probably the most ubiquitous grip item out there because of how versatile they are, and no matter what, in your filmmaking career, at some point you are going to be handling a CStand, so it's a good idea to learn how to use them and know your way around them. And if you are a PA on set, you may be asked to run and grab a CStand or set a CStand up or something. So it's a good idea to know your way around them. So first up, let's talk about transporting a CStand. And the first thing you gotta know is actually how to grab the CStand or hold the CStand. And there actually is a right way and a wrong way to hold a CStand. So the industry standard way of holding a CStand is grabbing around the stand and the grip arm itself. If you grab the CStand and put your fingers between the grip arm and the stand itself, when the experienced person goes and grabs a CStand, they're gonna grab it the correct way, and that could pinch your fingers, and it is super uncomfortable. And when you're carrying that CStand across set, it's a good idea to just announce it by saying points. And what that does, it just kind of gives the crew a heads up that you're walking through with the stand so that they can kind of get out of the way and everybody stays safe. Now, speaking of safety, there's a couple things to keep in mind when setting up a CStand for it to be as secure as possible. So when you're setting it up, first thing to do is whatever the tallest leg of the CStand is, you want to point that in the direction of whatever the load is going to be. Now, on that tallest leg of the CStand, you want to put a sandbag on it. Sometimes you may hear it referred to as dirt on set. So if the gaffer or somebody says, hey, can you go grab a bag of dirt? That's what they mean. So you want to put that on that tallest leg, and you want to make sure that that sandbag doesn't touch the ground. Now, the next thing to consider when you're setting up a CStand is the direction of the load in relation to the knuckle. So anytime you put anything on a knuckle, you want to make sure that the load is going in the same direction as you tighten it. So lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. So basically anytime, doesn't matter if it's a flag or if it's a grip arm or whatever, you want to make sure that you're sending it in the same direction as tightening. So sending it to the right of the knuckle. The reason why this is so important is because once there's a load on it, if you do it the opposite way and you do it to the left, once there's a heavy load on it, it could actually over time loosen up and could either fall out of the stand and cause damage to the set, or even worse, cause harm to a crew or cast member on the production. And that's really bad. You don't want that to happen. So that's why it's really important to focus on the safety of CStands. And the last thing I'll mention is the orientation of the grip arm. You want to make sure that the end of the grip grip arm is pointed towards the ceiling. You don't want to have it horizontal, because what that could do is create another hazard on set if somebody's walking, especially if the set is dark. You want to make sure that you're preventing any way possible somebody running into it. So typically what I like to do is, number one, point the end of the grip arm towards the ceiling, and also put a tennis ball or maybe some striker tape or something like that, just so people can see clearly that it's there and that they don't hit their head on it. Now, that's not everything that has to do with the C-stand. Those are just some basics. If you want a really good video on C-stands, then I highly recommend you check out Dave Donaldson with Grip Tips video on C-stands, because he goes over a lot of detail on those. So definitely go check out that video. Now, the next thing to consider is, what should you wear on set? Now, unless the producer sends out specific wardrobe instructions for the crew for the shoot for whatever reason, it's a really safe bet to just wear dark clothing. Now, typically for me, I'll just wear a pair of dark pants, like black or dark gray or something like that, and then a black or dark gray shirt. Now, pretty much exclusively, I wear these Cuts Clothing AO Curve Hem Tees, which they happen to be the sponsor of this video, but I wouldn't talk about them if I didn't actually wear the clothes and really like it. They are super comfortable. And like I said, they're dark clothing, so they're not bouncing any light or reflecting any light back onto set. And number three, like, they're just really presentable and they look professional. Now, it's still a t-shirt, you know, I'm not saying wear a suit and tie, but they still look nice and presentable. And to me, I think that's really important, because number one, that shows that you respect the production and the production company, and you also have respect for the client, because if the client's on set, you don't want to show up, you know, with holes in your t-shirt and looking all raggedy and stuff like that. Showing up looking presentable may go unnoticed to the production company and the client, but it will not go unnoticed if you show up with a flashy t-shirt or holes in your shirt or whatever the case may be. So that's why I always just err on the side of caution and just wear something that's comfortable yet presentable. So that's why I pretty much exclusively wear these Cuts Clothing AO Curve Hem Tees. So if you don't have any ideas of what to wear, maybe go down to the description below and check these shirts out. You can use code Tyler Edwards at checkout for 15% off. All right, now if you got hired on for BTS, typically you're not going to be, you know, moving around C-stands and stuff. You're going to be focusing on capturing BTS. And there's a couple things you can do to be really successful at capturing that BTS and getting hired back on with that production company, maybe for a different role or for BTS again. First of all, resist the temptation to try to capture your own camera angle of the production. Camera department is there for that, to capture the action. Cam ops and DP and all that. That's what they're there for. You are there to just capture BTS. Now, if the producer comes up and, you know, says like, oh, can you just like capture this quick angle? That's totally different, but you want to focus on capturing the BTS. Stay wide, stay on a wide angle lens and just hang on a shot for 15 seconds or something, and then kind of move to a second shot. Or if you're doing stills, stay wide or focus on the camera department and the director and the producer and all the crew that is working, because typically that's what a production company is looking for in BTS. And the other thing is just be a fly on the wall and be out of the way. The worst thing that you can do is try to get in on the action and think you're getting cool BTS when in fact you're getting in the way of the camera operator. Maybe they're, you know, on the easy rig, or, you know, it's a dolly or whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that you're out of the way, but you're still capturing the action. So that's why I say kind of be a fly on the wall, take a step back and just kind of be in the corner or something like that and just stay wide. And if the producer wants you to get a specific shot, then the producer can walk you over to exactly where they know that will be appropriate for you to be, and then you can capture shots from there. All right, so next up, a couple technical terms that you may hear on set. First of all, you got dirt. That is a sandbag. I mentioned that a little earlier. So if you hear someone say, hey, can you go grab some dirt? That's what they mean. Don't go grab a handful of dirt and hand it to them. They will probably laugh. Next up is quiet on set. That means quiet on set. That means don't move a muscle. So if you're doing BTS photography or anything, make sure that your camera is absolutely on silent mode, because if that goes off while cameras and sound are recording, then chances are you'll probably be asked to leave. Next up is stinger. A stinger is basically the film set term for an extension cord, and they are built kind of differently than something you'd find at Lowe's. But if someone asks for stinger, that's what that is. Next up is room tone. Typically the sound recordist is going to need to get room tone, so when they do that, treat it as quiet on set. Don't move a muscle, because the sound recordists need to get that room tone so that the editors can use that in post-production. And lastly, when something's being handed off to you, just announce that you've got it. You could literally just say, got it. And that lets the person know that you have control of whatever you're handling. Maybe it's a lens, maybe whatever the case may be, or a light or a stand. Production equipment is expensive, and you want to make sure that you actually have whatever you're holding before the other person lets go. And the last thing to remember is just to relax. Like, you're not expected to know everything on set about G&E or lighting ratios or camera department stuff or lenses or focal lengths, whatever. Like, you're not expected to know all those things. As a first time on set, if you're like a PA or something like that, you're just expected to help out where help is needed. And if you don't know something, like, just ask. 9 times out of 10, somebody is going to be more than willing and happy to help you and guide you the right way if you don't know the answer to something. The worst thing you can do is pretend you know what they're saying and then go get the wrong thing or go do the wrong thing, because then they're going to think, okay, this person thinks they know it all, but they don't actually, so I probably don't want to work with them again. But if you're just a nice person and you're curious and you just ask questions but you're being helpful, that's going to go a long way, and the production company and everybody on the crew is going to recognize that and be willing and want to work with you in the future. Well, I hope you found this helpful or useful or anything. I know it's kind of a boring topic. It's not about cameras, so I'm sure even if you're still here, I'm stoked you're here, but it's probably not going to be as popular of a topic as like talking about a red camera or something like that. But I think these are some important things to consider if you're going on set for the very first time. So if you found this helpful, let me down in the comments below. If I left something out, keep the conversation going in the comments and what you think is a really good thing to think of when it's your first time on set. Well, with that said, I'm gonna wrap this up. I appreciate you watching and hope to see you in the next one. Peace.